What's good? What's good? Hope everyone's doing good today. I'm glad that you're all here today to see what we got in store. Been working on this for quite some time now. I am ZipSweep, the director, or the project leader, excuse me, of ZipToon. Also made by with some friends, also referred to as the caster crew. So the order I want to discuss by is starting with weapons, and then balance / features at the same time, because we did add a couple new features as well into the game itself, and then some cosmetics, then stages, and then some other important news that I would like to talk about as well, which are good. But yeah, let's dive right in. But yeah, can't you believe it? It's a real face reveal. Oh my god. Anyways. Let me hide the shiphouse corner. But there's the logo right there as well. Oh, right, and also, at the end of the stream, I will reveal the 9th weapon. In total, there will be 13 new main weapons. I hope you look forward to that. But let's start off with the dual scrap gun. So the dual scrap gun is kind of a jack of all trades weapon, but ideally it wants to play as like a zombie type slayer. Think of weapons like Wiper or like Tetras, that type of play style. It shoots out 8 pellets at a time and it caps out the damage by 85 damage. Its minimum damage is between 20 and 24 damage. So the gimmick with this weapon is that when you tap ZR, you have incredible strafe speed, right? But if you hold ZR, you get a way faster fire rate, but your strafe speed's been decreased. So you kind of want to mix up using these play styles. And this weapon the idea for this weapon is supposed to be like meshing in both fast-paced and slow-paced comps. Whether it's like slower stat weapons or like faster stat weapons. It's supposed to be like a jack of all trades type of weapon. But yeah, it's a pretty simple weapon, all things considered. This thing can do a little bit of everything, but again, it ideally wants to play like a zombie type weapon. It can paint. It's just solid overall. For the vanilla kit, it comes with chumps and splat bomb, but yeah, let's go on to the next weapon. Let's move on to the other new weapon, or should I say returning weapon. The other the dual scrap gun. So the dual scrap gun is basically recreated from the ground up, from Splatoon 1, from everything, except it has except the strafe speed while shooting. The strafe speed while shooting has not changed, but basically it's recreated from the ground up. It does 28 damage per shot, but you might be wondering, Mr. Zip Code Sweeper Guy, what's the difference between dually squelchers and dual squelchers? So the difference between the two weapons is that dually squelcher is more aggressive focus. This is more passive aggressive focus. So this weapon kind of rewards you more for playing more of a with your range and space, while being more of a better support weapon. While dually squelcher will reward you for being more aggressive and being more upfront. Alright, the kits also help with each other in that aspect. But yeah, now the kits, as you can tell with dual squelcher, it has splat bomb and wave breaker. Oh, and also we did buff dually squelcher to make it a bit more different from dual squelcher, but we'll get onto that later. Next up, we have an entirely new weapon again. This is the Markling Punctuate. The Markling Punctuate is basically a midline slayer that has 1 charge circle, so it doesn't have 2. That's unique to every other spot lane. The main weapon also has excellent strafe speed as well, and good jump height while charging. The downside with this main weapon though is that this thing has a slow fire rate and paints terribly. It does 60 damage on a full charge, but 45 damage for a partial charge. This thing also has the Squiffer treatments, where you can do a full charge in the air. Kind of like Squiffer Reflux. The idea for this weapon is supposed to be like a midline slayer that you're supposed to go behind cover, to my understanding, and then come out bursting at them with it. But yeah, I think this is a high skill, high reward type of weapon. And the second kit makes it even more complicated with that. But let's move on to something that's new. Again, there's a total of 8 weapons I've been finished. 9, excuse me. This next one is the Syringer. The Syringer is a midline strainer with, again, similar to Markling. It has excellent strafe speed and it has a full hop while charging. Except this main weapon is more simpler, but in a way. But basically, as you just saw, it has 2 arrows, but if you do a full charge, they overlap with each other. The weakness of this weapon is that it is a terrible painter and it's very ink hungry, leading to 10 shots per ink tank. assuming if you have no Ink Saver main on it. Or the damage is pretty high for this weapon, as again, it's supposed to be a midline slayer. If you do a full charge, it hit a person with 1 arrow, it does 70. Tapping also just does 35. The AoE explosions from the arrows itself also does 8. Does 35. Overlapped arrows do 70. And then a full charge does 140. The time to charge this weapon is between both Strainer or Tri-Strainer and Reflux, and same thing with its range. However, unlike those two weapons, this thing does not get the Squipper treatment at all, and that you can't charge store with it. Also, the arrows are 25% bigger than the other explosions from both, compared to both Wellstrain and Tri-Strainer, but they do take like an extra 15 frames longer to explode. But yeah, this is a midline slayer that's really mobile, it's really fast, and I feel like this weapon would be really good. I feel like this weapon would be really good. Kind of like, and don't take this the wrong way, it's not easy as this weapon, but I feel like this is like the 52 equivalent to Strainers, except it's not brain dead easy. It's not, I think it takes some skill to play it, but I think it'll be fine. What goes without a Strainer? Without a new sword. Am I right? Meet the Splatana Rapper. The Splatana Rapper is supposed to be the fastest sword, but in exchange, it comes out with 5 slashes, or it's a 5-shot basically. But as you can tell, it has really fast swipes. It has a really fast charge time. You can just shit all these projectiles out, and it even has the charge store. Rapper's damage is pretty mediocre overall. This being a 4-shot up close, this being a 5-shot up close. This also doing 90 up close, so this won't even do 1-shot. And also, this doesn't shoot out projectile. This does not shoot out a projectile whatsoever, but you can actually cancel this dash. We basically added wave dash in Splatoon, so you can use this as a new mix-up. Think of this like a mobility mix-up, basically, like a parry of some sorts. Yeah, so we added wave dashing in Splatoon. Have fun with that. As you can also tell, the vanilla kit comes with Ink Mine and Trizuka. And let's move on to the next weapon. So anyways, this is the Vinyl Dualies. The Vinyl Dualies is basically a reverse Dowsers, where this is the short range mode. The short range mode is the support mode, or the standard firing mode. And it also does really weak damage, doing 24 damage per shot. Think of this like the Aerospray mode. But if you do a dodge roll, the dodge rolls look like the dodge rolls look so fast when you dodge roll. It looks like you instantly teleport. You get 3 of these things. And basically, but the weaknesses for the turret mode is that it paints like shit. As you just saw, the turret mode does 44 damage per shot. So this is like a true flex between both a support and slayer mode. And also, don't worry, we did buff Dowsers, so it will keep up, so it won't fall behind. Its vanilla kit also comes with Curling Bomb and Triple Ink Strike. And yes, the teleport was White Guy's idea. Speaking of White Guy's idea, we'll go over to the next weapon that also involves White Guy's idea, which is probably my favorite idea he's ever made. This is the Propane LPG. The Propane LPG has similar range to that of Snipe Rider, right? It still one-shots from a distance, but as you can see, the shot lingers in the air. Its area of effect is the biggest out of every other blaster in the game, doing a whopping 5 units, but it's like but it does 45 damage, I think. Yeah, 45 damage. It also comes with the short range mode, which, by the way, does not increase the area effect. It only just makes it last for another second. So this explodes a second later. This thing has several hitbox, or layers of hitboxes stacked on top of it. And, oh shit, wrong thing. And if we were to go to a match, players can even walk in the bullet midair? Yes. Screw it, yeah. We'll tease a little bit of Mahi. We'll tease a little bit of Mahi for you guys. So yeah, the idea for this weapon is like a trap weapon or like an area of denial backliner weapon. Yeah, it's really cool. Of course, as you can see, its trail cuts off mid-shot. That's part of the weakness. It also has a lot of M-lag afterwards, but that's not the coolest part about this weapon. This is. It quite literally drags them into the center of the hitbox. We'll call this new mechanic a reverse hitbox. The reverse hitbox basically pulls it into the center of the explosion. So let's say if you get hit by the 45 damage hitbox, you get pulled right in. It literally forces people to move. It's such a super cool weapon, and I hope people try it. Meet the Skin Pitcher, the other backline slosher. So I'll say this right now: we did rework Blob into function more like a, more of a midline slayer. Skin Pitcher here is supposed to replace that, to fulfill that role. So, anyways, this thing does 35 damage per shot. And the damage is always static, so it always do 35 damage regardless of fall off. So anyways, like Dread, it shoots out multiple projectiles within one slosh, but unlike Dread, this thing shoots out 3 projectiles at once. Yeah, the second one has Fizzy. Yeah, one of them has Fizzy, I think. Can it ping tech? Like, if you meant like flicking it, no, we can't flick its sloshes. As you can see, I'm trying to swerve it. So the sloshes are very narrow. But yeah, the vanilla kit comes with Sprinkler and Big Bubbler. But as you can tell, it leaves a giant gap of paint here, which is why we gave it subs to cover that weakness. So there you go. Oh yeah, no, there's also one other thing. Let's go over with a new sub. Platform. So for this demonstration, I will be using Propane Second Kit, KRS, and basically Splatform. Think of it this way: you're in Minecraft and you're placing blocks and shit. You could throw up the 2 platforms at once, and there's supposed to be like a broken down Zipcaster is the best way I can use it. Is the best way I can describe it. Think of it like a high risk, high reward type of sub as well. And as well as this thing also pairs up with a lot of other specials pretty synergistically. Like for example, you can use Streizuka to get extra height up here. And by the way, in order to use another platform, you quite literally need to have someone else destroy it. Otherwise, it'll just disappear and it will drain your ink. So either you, your teammates, or someone else will need to destroy it. So yeah, basically, you're placing blocks and shit, but as well as the reason why I like to call this a high risk, high reward type of sub is because of, well, other people can use it as well. Yeah, no more Miss. Miss is scrapped from the mod pack. But as well as, let me go onto a stage so I can give like more of a better demonstration, you know what I mean? You see this unpaintable wall, you can just throw it on this platform and bam, you're up here now. But yeah, though, that's basically the idea for this sub. But yeah, no, I hope people can experiment with it. And by the way, do not worry, we are reworking pretty much all the stages so that Splatform does not become broken, and regardless, that was our plan in the first place. But we do plan to rework all the stages. Even if Splatform wasn't a thing, we would have done so regardless. Also, Waiga included a special tech for Propane. Its spark kills. Sparking with Propane is fatal. Or pretty much fatal. But, basically. Anyways, let's go over some balance changes. And I mean by balance changes, I mean literally all of them. So, first, actually no, let's go a couple new features. So, we redone 8 colors. We included 8 new colors / redone colors. And I'll list them off. We did green and purple, red and white, red green, white purple, yellow pink, orange pink, and these last 2 right here are like quote-unquote rare colors because they're the only color combinations that you're able to see them with. We did pastel green and pastel pink and gold and silver. The only 2 we left in the game is yellow and blue and orange and blue, basically referring to Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 3. And as well as we also removed 3 things from Splatoon, from base Splatoon. None of the kits will be having tendon missiles or splatter color screen, and special charge up was removed. So anyways, this is the new quote-unquote ability, Nola, where it does absolutely nothing to impact your stats in any way, shape, or form possible. It replaces special charge up. And the reason why we replaced special charge up is because, well, it was unhealthy. Special spam is never healthy in the first place. And because of that, because we did remove special charge up, some weapons will be cheaper by points and / or get slight paint buffs. So they can still get their special somewhat consistently. As well as the only way you can realistically quote-unquote special spam is by stacking a lot of special saver and or special or tenacity. And also with that, we also did update the special power-up icon where it has Reef Slider instead. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's go over some balance changes. As you can tell, Dynamo looks kind of funky, which I'll explain in a bit. But for now, let's focus on one other thing. So, Squid Surging now takes 15 frames less to do, so it's 15 frames faster to do a Squid Surge compared to the 45. So it takes it goes down from 45 frames to 30 frames. Now we go over to Dynamo. So for Dynamo, we did a total of 4 things, 3 buffs, 1 rework. Which, by the way, we'll go over the rework right now. Dynamo will now have a vertical swing instead of having a horizontal swing. So basically, this thing has 2 horizontal swings now. And the reason why we did it is because, well, most Dynamo players still is mainly going to be wanting to do this regardless. Now, let's go over with the other buffs that we did. So, we removed the randomness and the paint patterns of the swings as much as we can. It's still a little bit inconsistent, but it's now more consistent than it ever was before. I can't give up an exact value by how much we did, because it's still RNG, so I do apologize. And also, what the fuck is this? Bro's tweaking. Oops. Anyways, minimum damage is now 55, but it does not include fall off, so if you hit someone at the very end of your attack right here, then it does 55 damage. The fourth final change is that we replace both of its swings range has been increased by 5% yeah, that's it for Dynamo, but it's for the greater good. It really is. And the reason why we did remove its vertical swing is because of, well, it was really hard to balance around it because it felt like too overtuned in some aspects with it. Like, it felt really easy to overtune in a lot of aspects. So, in return, we gave it 2 horizontal swings, but we buffed the fuck out of it. I think it's a good rework for Dynamo. Anyways, we'll go over to the next change. Okay, so Octobrush. Okay, so Octobrush gets 2 buffs. So Octobrush right here gets 2 buffs, which the first buff is that this thing now has permanent ink resistance, similar to Ink Brush, while rolling on top of ink. And the second buff is that it now rolls faster than Paintbrush, but it's still slower than Ink Brush. In reference, Paintbrush rolls at 0.18 units per frame, while Inkbrush rolled at 0.198 units per frame. Octobrush in base Splatoon 3 rolls at 0.168 units, I think, or like 1.60 units per second in game. So basically, this thing rolls faster now in general, but still rolls faster than Paintbrush, but it rolls slower than Inkbrush. Paintbrush also has a similar treatment where it has permanent ink resistance, but it also has a bit of a rework too. And keep this in mind, this is before 9.3, right? So we decreased the startup time from 20 to 23 frames down to 18 frames, making it able to swing a lot more faster for its startup. But in exchange, it swings 3 frames slower when consistently tapping ZR, from going to 13 frames to 16 frames. This is what it looks like. This basically makes it so, like, let's say, like, this enemy right here is like a dual scrap gun, and let's say he was trying to flank behind me. I'm able to, like, react faster now because of the guy. I might even be able to trade, or at best, win because of that buff. but that's why it exists, so it's able to react more faster if needed to. That's kind of the idea for this rework. GooTuber gets 2 buffs, which I think are quite impactful. So GooTuber gets 2 buffs, one of which is that this thing now charges for a full charge. It only takes 60 frames now instead of 75 or 72, whatever it was before. And now it takes 60 frames to do a full charge. This does not include the partial charge. So basically, by the time you hit the second circle, or after the first circle, it just instantly charges. The second buff is that this is now a lightweight weapon, meaning that it's able to swim more faster, especially when you're in this state. But it's basically more of a more faster weapon in other aspects. And also, we gave it really good kits. I'll be honest, we gave this weapon really good fucking kits in this mod pack. Anyways, going on to the next weapon. 52 gal gets 1 pretty big nerf, and it now shoots 52 shots out of a full ink tank, making it, well, a 52 shot ink tank, 52 gal. This makes it basically you have to wear ink saver main for now on in general. But as you can tell, it's way more ink hungry. This is also like a 32% ink consumption nerf, I believe. 32? Yeah, 30 by roughly 32 shots, going from 76 shots to 52 shots. 96 gal is up next. So 96 is basically gets 1 quality of life buff, which does not make it any better or worse. It's still relatively in the same spot. But basically, 96 gal, while grounded, it has a slight reduction RNG buff. Basically going from 4 degrees for spread shot to 3.9 degrees of spread shot. This makes it a little bit more easier to learn the weapon. Just a tiny bit more. So that's basically it. There's literally no other buffs for 96 gal. Splash Shot Pro gets quite a bit of a rework with 2 buffs and 2 nerfs. So the new minimum damage for Splash Shot Pro is now 25. So basically meaning this is at least, at worst, a 4-shot weapon. If I can like hit a dummy. Yeah, 25 shot, or 25 damage per shot. We also increase the frames in the air after a bullet's damage starts increasing from 7 frames to 9 frames. This makes it take slightly longer to do it less damage, meaning that it'll take even a bit more longer to do its fall damage. So it'll always, so it's even, so it makes it a little bit more easier to consistently 3-shot more often. But in exchange, it gets 2 nerfs. We increase its ink consumption by 20%, going from 50 shots on a flank tank to 40 shots on a flank tank. Basically making it shoot 10 bullets less than what it was before. And then the other thing is that it's now a heavyweight weapon. So basically, in exchange for more consistent killing, it's now a little bit gear dependent, but it'll be fine at the end of the day. L3 Nozzle Nose gets 1 Jurassic buff. And I'll be real, chat, this buff, it basically made it had no jump RNG whatsoever. And the only reason why we did this is just to make it work with Zipcaster. That's literally it. It makes it really fun. And now this also makes it so like H3, it makes it more similar to H3 or like Squeezer. So all the all the semi-auto shooters basically have no jump RNG now, which I think is fine. Especially for L3. I think L3 needed it the most. Speaking of which, H3 is up. So H3 gets 2 small buffs. It's 5% less ink hungry, and it has 2 less frames of end lag after shooting the main weapon, going from 20 frames of end lag to 18 frames of end lag. This makes it basically shoot a little bit more faster while having like a couple extra ZR presses. I'm not really good with this weapon, by the way, so excuse me for my poor aim. But yeah, I'm basically tapping ZR fast as I can now. But yeah, this makes it a little bit more of a consistent weapon overall. I think people would like this weapon, if I'm being honest. Or play it more. It makes it more of a little bit better weapon. I think that's all it needs, really. So in reference, we reworked the entire blaster class, making it, well, so we reworked the entire blaster class is basically giving it all blasters 100% jump RNG, but in exchange, we did give each blaster a trade-off. So, for example, with V Blaster here, it takes an extra 2 frames to shoot out its projectile, along with having 2 extra frames of lag after shooting. With the next weapon, we got Range Blaster. Range Blaster is now a heavyweight weapon, making it a little bit slower overall. And this basically encourages you to play more around corners, but ideally having the same playstyle as I had before. Because not only the heavyweight weapon, it's not only a heavyweight weapon, but it's, well, the perfect RNG basically encourages that too. With the Rapid Blasters, both Rapid Blasters and Rapid Blaster Pro gets the same treatment. They are basically more aim hungry. For example, with Rapid Blaster here, the vanilla one, it now only has 12 shots on a floating tank, I believe. Yeah, 12 shots on a floating tank, I believe, which is a 16% decrease or increase consumption nerf, going from roughly 14 shots to 12 shots. And for Rapid Blaster Pro, it gets a 20% ink consumption nerf, going from 12 and a half shots to 10 shots on a full ink tank list. Or ink tank. Flash gets a bit more of a rework. We increase the strafe speed while firing the main weapon by 20%, so it's able to be a little bit more mobile while shooting. We also increase its direct hitbox when hitting a direct shot to 75, so this is a true combo now. But in exchange, we did give it 2 nerfs. We decreased the blast radius from 4 units to 3.8 units, so its AoE explosion size is a tiny bit smaller. And we increased the ink consumption by 12%, going from 25 shots to 22 shots. This makes it a weapon that rewards you for more aiming more up close and personal, and makes it a better weapon overall while not being so much of a noob stopper anymore. That's the idea with this weapon. And we move on to Luna. So I kind of lied when all blasters got a trade-off. Luna just gets 100% jump accuracy along with one other buff, which by the way, I'm not going to reveal its second kit now, or not its second kit, its first kit now. I'm only going to go over the second kit. And by the way, this buff also goes for Big Swig as well. So do keep this in mind. This is a really important change. So Luna gets a 20% run speed buff while shooting, so strafe speed is 20% better. And so keep this in mind. This is a really important change. Again, Big Swig also gets this change too, which I'll go over later. And the reason why we did not give any nerf is because I am tired of this weapon being kicked down to the ground more than it already has to be. I want this weapon to be actually decent for once. Not Splatoon 1 good, but pretty damn close. You get what I'm saying? We gotta find that middle ground somewhere. Last but not least, for the Blaster class, we got S-Blast, which I'll also do with its second kit, because I don't want to show its first kit. Its first kit is pretty fucking peak, and I want to keep that a surprise. So, you might be wondering, Mr. Zip Code guy, Mr. Sweeping Brew guy, what did you do to the S-Blast? S-Blast already had a 100% jump accuracy when jumping. Well, I'm glad you asked, little Timmy. We reworked its short range mode to an entirely new mode. Meet Shy Mode. Shy Mode will always do 35 damage consistently, whether you hit a direct shot or not. Whether you hit a direct shot on it, or if you hit a AoE shot on it. This also hits from every angle around you, with also having a bigger blast radius of 4.5 units, I believe. Let's see, yeah, 4.4 units. So you're able to hit this dummy right behind you. Or like if you want a base game Splatoon 3 right now, this is not possible to hit both dummies at once. It's just simply not possible to hit both dummies right here if you use the short range mode. And yeah, the reason why we did this is because to give S-Blast a new function as well. Basically it just makes it so that's, you know, gives it so S-Blast gets a little bit of something here. S-Blast also gets a bit of a rework other than that. For the long range mode, it now does 80 damage maximum for the indirect. So it does 80 damage, so it's able to consistently combo more with burst bomb. And the blast radius has been increased from 2 units to 2.1 units, so it's a bit more easier to hit the 80 shot direct. But in exchange for those buffs as well, we increased the time between shots from 55 frames to 57 frames. So this basically makes it so we did a little bit of a version of that one buff it got. from a few patches ago. Was able to shoot a little bit faster. So it's not bad. We didn't fully revert it. We just reverted some of it. Let's go over with Sloshing Machine, yeah. So Sloshing Machine got a bit of a buff with a reversion of a nerf. We decreased the length of continuous swings by 2 frames from going from 38 frames to 36 frames. This is not a full-on reversion, but only slightly. So you're able to slosh a tiny bit faster than before. And that's basically what we did what we did with Sloshing Machine. And also, yes, this thing is no longer 220p. I think it's like 210, 220, or yeah, it's just 200 points flat out now. But anyways, let's go over with the next weapon, Blob. Blob has a bit of a rework as well, bit of a drastic one, by the way, I should clarify. And Blob gets 2 buffs, I believe. 2 buffs? No, 2 nerfs, excuse me, but 1 massive buff. So the first buff, we'll go over the buff and then the nerfs. So the buff is that the speed of the bubbles traveled to by 200%. As you can tell, the bubbles travel a hell of a lot more faster now while keeping the similar range. But in exchange, it increased ink consumption per shot by 15%, making it only have 8 sloshes on a full ink tank if you're wearing no ink saver main. And it paints overall worse in every aspect by 10%. So basically, this basically makes it into a midline slayer while consistently hitting its bubbles way more than before. Except when I fucking swerve it like an idiot because I don't play Blob. Heavy edits and ballpoint spot lanes all got the same buffs. But for this showcase, I'm only going to be using ballpoint because I think ballpoint is more interesting with these buffs than the other 2. So for ballpoint, if I can pull up my screen again, while charging and shooting, its straight speed has been increased by 15%. But for this buff only, it only applies for the short range mode. This does not apply for the long range mode only. For the other buff, we increased the range for all 3 splat lanes. By 7%, but again, just like ballpoint, or just like the short range mode, this buff only applies for the long range mode. This does not apply for the short range mode in whatsoever, in any way possible. I think these buffs are justified for all 3 heavy edit and ballpoint splat lanes, and this makes it so that the splat lanes. So the idea for these changes is so that it makes it more of an even matchup against chargers. In general, that's the idea for these buffs, excuse me. So that's not like splat lanes now dominate chargers, but we don't want chargers anymore to dominate splat lanes. And yeah. All right. So Dually Sculptures. So Dually Sculptures has probably got a really good, or really 2 good buffs, and that is the minimum or maximum damage is now 30 damage per shot. So this is able to combo with a lot more weapons versus his previous 28 damage per shot. Decreased shot spread when firing immediately after jumping in normal stance by roughly 25%, going from 8 degrees to 6.4 degrees. So basically, this is way more accurate now. The jump tech is basically way more accurate and way more consistent of a weapon. Let's go over with Glugga Dualies, which I think that this is a huge buff personally, as I'm very biased with Glugga Dualies, if I'm being entirely honest, and this gets 1 massive buff, and I think this is one of the only 3 things that it needs. While doing the turret mode, it has a 12% bigger hitbox size while shooting on its turret mode. Basically, the bullets have a bigger hitbox size in general, making it way more easier to hit shots. This makes it so that its accuracy issue is practically no more, where almost always consistently misses its shots, and now almost always consistently hits its shots, basically making it a way more consistent weapon. And I think this is the only thing that Glugga Dualies needs. Everything else that they buffed in Splatoon 3 for Gluggas has basically already been done. Speaking of weapons that got buffed, Dowser Dualies got 4 buffs. Yeah, 4 buffs basically. So for Dowser Dualies, maximum and minimum damages have been increased. Maximum damage for Dowser Dualies has been increased to 28 damage per shot,
And the minimum damage is now 15.6 damage per shot, going from 26.5 shot damage per shot to 28 damage per shot. And for its minimum damage is 12.8 damage to 15.6 damage per shot for its minimum damage. This basically makes it a little bit more consistent with picking, but not too much. And honestly, I kind of went back on and off with this, whether how we should buff Dowser Dualies, whether make it so it's 26.5 damage for this still, and make it 32 damage for the turret mode, basically. But I wasn't so sure, so I asked a couple people about it, like, what they would prefer, and I heard more people that they would prefer more of a between damage buff, instead of like going all in for one damage for the other. Anyways, for Dowser's next buff, it creates more paint droplets at a higher rate by 50%, going from 4 paint droplets to 6 paint droplets per shot, or something along the lines, and paint droplets are spawning more closely with each other by 50% again, from going 8 to 12, meaning that its paint is way more consistent than it was before. Not as consistent, but it's way more, as you can probably tell. This might be a bit of an overtune buff, but I mean, oh well, we can always revert it if needed. But basically, this makes it way more consistent of a painting weapon, and still does a little bit more damage in general. I am really pleased how this turned out to be, but I understand if this might be a little bit overtuned. But if needed, we can always revert back to you know, we can always tone down the paint a little bit. But I think this is what Dowser needs. Splaprella, ah yes. We got any Brellas in the chat? I hope you're excited. I hope you are looking forward to this one. So Splaprella gets 3 buffs? 3 buffs. So Splaprella now gets its old damage back, meaning that its maximum damage per pellet goes from 16.2 to 18 damage per pellet, and its minimum damage has been increased from 10.8 damage to 12, meaning that yes, 90 damage Brella is back. And also, for a third buff, Canopy is now 10% more resistant against all swords and bows. This also includes for Recycled Brella and Undercover Brella, but not Tinted Brella. This basically makes it so that canopies are just a little bit more easier against all swords and bows in general now. So they don't get shredded instantly, even though some do. Recycled Undercover. But yeah, no, basically it just makes it basically makes the Brella matchup a little bit more, you know, better against swords and bows, because those are the ones that they struggle against the most. Recycled Brella has the most amount of changes out of everything else, with a whopping 8 changes. This thing gets drastically reworked. Recycled Brella gets drastically reworked with a whopping 8 changes, which, by the way, shoutouts to Territ for this. I asked them if we could use their Recycled Brella rework from a while back, and they agreed at the time, and I'm grateful for that, so shouts to you, Territ. Thank you. But anyways, I'm gonna rapid fire with this one a bit, because a lot of them overstack with each other. We decreased the ink consumption of firing the shield by 20%, and increase the speed at which the shield travels by approximately 22%, and decrease the amount of time between firing a shot and the shield coming out, basically meaning there's less end lag between shooting a shield and shooting your shot. That's what it looks like. It instantly basically comes out, and it travels a lot more faster. Hell, even just me regularly swimming, I can't catch up with it. So basically, you got a curling bomb at all times. With the other changes, decrease the time between the shield being destroyed and the shield being regenerated by 60 frames, making it so that it is a true double shield. So that basically means you can shoot out 2 canopies at once. Which, again, as I said, basically means double canopy is real with this weapon. Decrease the time between firing the weapon and being able to recover ink by 5 frames, basically 5 frames of less whiting frames, or white ink frames. This does not affect the time between using or firing the shield and being able to recover ink. So this does not impact that, but only this. Canopy, also, we removed fallout damage, so if all pellets hit, that means they will always deal maximum damage. So let's say this dummy over here,
If you hit all the pellets, that will always do 90 damage, assuming if you hit all again. And again, as I said earlier, Canopy is 10% more resistant against all swords and bows, but in exchange, it does get one pretty hefty nerf. We increase the ink consumption of firing the weapon by 28% on a full ink tank, going from 16 shots to 12 shots. So basically, this thing is basically recycled Brella, but we buff its identity, so it's drastically different from every other Brella. Anyways, Undercover Brella gets 5 buffs. 5 small buffs, I should say. We increase the shield HP from 200 to 225, make it a little bit bulkier, along with that canopy resistance buff against all swords and bows. We increase the damage taken from making contact with the shield from 15 to 20, meaning this is the true combo. Strafe speed when shooting has been increased by 5%, meaning that this is a bit faster to shoot, or shoot while strafe speed, or we increase the strafe speed. So you're able to move a bit faster now while shooting. And we decrease the time between shots from 26 frames to 24 frames, making it to shoot a bit faster. The idea for these buffs is to make it so it's emulating like NZAP, and we gave it more supportive kits this time around. So Undercover fans, you're eating tonight. So basically, Undercover is more dedicated to make it more of a support weapon. But yeah, let's move on to the next weapon. I believe that's all the Brellas. Yep, there is only one buff left for all main weapons. So for this final buff, Price Trainer is now able to charge store, basically making it, well, this basically lets it be, you're able to just charge store with it now. The charge store lasts up to 1.75 seconds. This is basically the equivalent to something like Splat Charger. And the reason why we included this is because we felt like Choice Trainer would have been underwhelming in the final mod pack. So we included this buff. Curling Bomb is next, and we'll go over the subs quickly. There's not a lot of sub changes. So Curling Bomb got a bit of a rework, as I mentioned. It is now a 50% sub, going from 65% to 50% sub cost. But in exchange, we increase the time between throwing a curling bomb and being able to recover ink by 15 frames for both simply tossing it and charging it. So basically, this is a cheaper sub, but it takes a little bit more for you to be able to start to recovering ink. And that's basically it for Curling Bomb. We got Line Marker next, and I say Line Marker for a very specific reason. And the first change I would like to say is that we changed its name to literally Line Marker in Splatoon 3 for the mod pack. ZipToon now refers to it as Line Marker instead of Angle Shooter because Angle Shooter, quite frankly, is a pretty dog shit name. So anyways, let's go on to the actual changes for Line Marker that are actually important. So let's see here. Line Marker gets 3 buffs and 1 nerf. We increase the size of the projectile hitbox by 30%, meaning that this will hit. Yeah, this will hit. And as you just saw, Tripwire does 20 damage now. But basically, this makes it a bit more easier to hit your projectiles, but you still need to aim with it, of course. Do you see do you see like the inner circles? That's basically its new hitbox size. Imagine that. But basically, it just makes it a bit easier to hit. And last but not least, its direct damage does 45 damage per shot or per marker it hits with. Not the octagon, but whatever's inside of the octagon, basically. But in exchange, it becomes a 45% sub. Sprinkler gets 3 buffs, which I think they're all pretty big buffs. This makes Sprinkler way more usable, but I don't think it's going to be good as Splatoon 1 Sprinkler, but it's still really good regardless. So, for Sprinkler, we increase the effective paint radius of the sub by 5% in its first painting mode. This does not impact the radius of each individual ink droplet, only the radius in which they can fall. We decrease the ink cost to use the sub from 60% to 50%. And last but not least, we removed its third painting mode permanently. So after the first painting mode, it just stays on the second painting mode like this for the entire game. Just straight up just stays in the second painting mode permanently, or until someone destroys it, or until it gets destroyed. This basically makes it so that it's usable for mid or frontline weapons now. So it's not really just a sub for backline weapons now in general. And I think it's solid. So let's go over with the specials. Let's go with Trizuka first, actually. So Trizuka gets 1 buff, 1 nerf, and 1 rework. Or not rework, 1 fix. We increase the time between activating the special and being able to fire a shot by 30 frames. So meaning you can't special panic anymore. So you can't just like instantly press down on the R stick and just instantly shoot a Zuka shot. It gets 30 frames to startup total now. Again, going from 5 frames to 25 frames to startup. But for the buff, we extended the duration by approximately half a second when not equipping special power-up gear abilities from 5.5 to 6 seconds. So you still get 6 seconds of Zuka instead of 5.5. And then for the fix, it's both a rework and a nerf at the same time. And that, so you know, sometimes like Zuka just like clips through shots or like looks like they just like passed by players. Yeah, we fixed that entirely. And how we did it is, oh, but ignore that part, I guess. But I guess we didn't entirely fix it. But basically, that's the idea for what we did with it. We can fix that after stream. But basically, this makes it so it's able to hit the shots way more consistently with Zuka. But in exchange, it does decrease its AOE very slightly. So AOE has been nerfed, but hitting shots actually count now. So its AOE, you know, it doesn't feel like it's bullshit anymore, unless if you just pretend that moment didn't exist. And basically, what we did with Killer Whale is make it emulate like Splatoon 1 Killer Whale. Not completely, but, and keep in mind, this is still a heavy work in progress, by the way. So the idea for this weapon is that for Killer Whale is that you're supposed to place it down. And by the way, there is supposed to be 2 speakers underneath it. That's only a visual glitch. If we go into an actual match or actual map, these 2 speakers will appear on the bottom. I don't know why it acts like that. It just does. But basically, we're basically in the process of recreating Killer Whale from Splatoon 1. No, you can't look up or down with it. You can only look forward with it. Or like, you can only look, you can't angle it up or downwards, but you can angle it everywhere else. Let's go over with Wavebreaker, which gets 2 pretty big buffs, all things considered. Wavebreaker gets 2 buffs. Its first buff is that it now has 500 HP instead of 400 HP. And the second buff, it summons 4 waves. Which, by the way, Platform synergizes with the special quite a bit because it elevates the special. So let's say if I were to throw 2 platforms onto this wall, it would literally carry the platforms would literally carry the waves up to reach the higher places where it normally would not be able to get. So keep that in mind, folks. There's a lot of, that's just one of the many examples that this platform has. But as you just saw, it literally summons 4 waves. And also, Wavebreaker is the only special in the game now where it can locate people. So there you go. There's that. Let's go over with Reef Slider next, because Reef Slider buffs are insane. For this demonstration, I will be using Dapple Doolies. Reef Slider gets 2 buffs and 3 nerfs. Let's start with the nerfs. So basically, the nerfs are as simple as decrease the radius of the area paint exploded by 15%, meaning that its paint radius is now decreased in general. No more zones cheese, thank fuck. Decrease the radius of the explosion that deals some damage by 5%, and decrease of the length of the invincibility period before the special launches by 13 frames, making it so that you can't panic special with it anymore. But the exchange with all of that, here, I'll turn on the bot for this even. We increase the velocity on how far Reef Slider and the ink trail and the ink rail painted in front of it goes by 15%, making it go farther and faster, and no more end lag after using Reef Slider whatsoever. There is no more end lag whatsoever with Reef Slider. So Reef Slider basically is more fighter focused, and instead of cheese or zones cheese focused. Triple Ink Strike is next with a simple nerf, and that simple nerf is that it has a radius decrease by it has a radius decrease by 7%, going from 7 units to 6.5 units. I'll throw them on the ground just to show an example. But basically, the radius includes for both the hitbox and the paint radius. So strikes are just a tiny bit smaller. It's just a wrist in the slap nerf. So Chumps got a bit of not a rework, excuse me, with 3 buffs and a neutral change. I'll read this off as I'm painting for Chumps. Minimum damage has been increased from 35 damage to 40 damage. Maximum damage was increased from 70 damage to 80 damage. Chumps HP has been increased from 60 damage to 70 damage, making it a bit more tankier, and Chumps are now more likely to land closer with each other. Again, I can't give you the exact number, just because it's still RNG dependent on where they land, but they're more likely to not land with each other
But jumps basically encourage you to charge in more. They're more aggressive focused, and the jumps land with each other more, making it more easier to make it more like a dummy type, or make it more, or where they can serve more like meat shields, and where they can just, you know, land closer to each other, so more likely to consistently hit people. But in exchange, as I said, they land closer with each other, meaning that Zone's cheese is more harmed. Triple Splashdown is the second final special that we'll be going over to, and I've been saving the best for last. I'm going to show this off in a map actually, because the buff only applies for super jumping. So with Triple Splashdown, as I mentioned, it gets 2 buffs. Oh, 2 buffs and a nerf. Excuse me, my apologies. So this all impacts for the super jump variants, except for the nerf. We increase the radius of the explosion created when activating the special from a super jump by roughly 57%. This makes it so it's triple splashdown size, but this does not impact for the direct radius or the paint radius, meaning that it's basically just triple splashdown, but without the paint radius or the direct hit radius. We increase the 60 damage indirect radius when activating the special from a super jump by roughly 10%, meaning that super jump is just basically bigger while doing triple splashdown, but again, not including the paint radius. And for the nerf, we decrease the radius inked by the explosion by approximately 11%, going from 10 units to 9 units. This is a buff that I got in 9.3, I believe, so it's really recent. We felt like this buff was not necessary or wanted at all for our triple splashdown. And I've been saving the best for last. We've been saving the best change of them all. So, fellas, do you remember the Luna and Big Swig buffs that we mentioned? Because if you do, this is why. And for this example, I'm gonna be using Vinyl Dualies Neo, which is the second kit. I'm gonna go over with the nerfs and then the buffs, because the buffs are drastic. Out of everything, every change in this giant ass mod pack, this is easily the most impacted thing out of everything else. Out of all the main weapons, out of the sub weapons, out of the special weapons. So for the nerfs, we decrease its range for shooting and suck distance by 20%. We decrease the radius for the outer perimeter when vacuuming up by ink by 10% to cover a smaller area than before. We went from 3.3 units to 3 units. Decrease the radius of an ink shot explosion approximately by 50% when the amount of opponent's ink that was sucked up at its minimum, going from 6 units to 4 units. Decrease the radius of the ink shot explosion by approximately 25% by the amount of ink that was sucked up at its maximum, 10 units to 8 units. And we also increased on how long you have ink back for by 1 second, which is not a nerf, but kind of like a neutral change. But with that all out of the way, its 2 biggest buffs is that the shot speed, or its shot's travel speed when shooting the projectile, was increased by 200%. And then when you actually use vac, we increase the strafe speed while using vac by 300%. You're basically a reverse Kraken. I mean, it doesn't look much from right now, but it doesn't look much from that because I'm running no run speed. Which, by the way, run speed quite literally just multiplies this buff even more, up to 900% or something like that. This is a rough estimate, but this is by 900% if you wear max run speed. Imagine this like a reverse Kraken in a way. So basically, like, let's say if like some sword user, like, yeah, I'm doing that right now. I'm putting on max run speed. So for example, I am wearing max run speed as of right now, right? Look how fast you go when using Inkback. Just look at this fucking speed, dude. You go so fat. No, Kraken Rail did not get any changes. But basically, it's just way faster. It's just way faster overall. Also, let's just say, for example, let's say like a sword player, right? I'm a sword player. I fuck up Vax easily, right? I eat them for breakfast. Let's say like a decap was charging at you while you're popping back. You can literally back up from the decap, and the decap can't do anything about it.
So you're able to back up safely from them. We reworked back in such a drastic way. Which, by the way, we literally gave weapons that have good run speed ink back because of these changes. And this is why we also gave Big Swig ink back with that run speed buff, and that's why we gave Luna that run speed buff. Literally, that's why. And now that we all know the kits, or not the kits, now that we all know the balance changes, we're gonna be going over kits.
So, I'm going to be doing this on map order. So, we're going to be starting off with Mincemeat. We added a literal fucking crane to Mincemeat. This makes it so that it resembles Salt Spray a little bit. And it stops and pauses. And you're able to rotate around with it. We also added 2 extra flanks, which also goes for all modes. And that crane's going to be there for all modes. This car right here will let you jump up like this. And you're able to flank around. And same thing with this other car right here. This car lets you... So, yeah, these 3 changes alone literally fix the map. But yeah, we basically fixed Mincemeat for all modes. We're going back to Mincemeat and zones, which, by the way, the zones layout for all reworked maps are basically the same as its surfport layout. So I'll go over these quickly. So as you can tell, as I said, there's a giant fucking crane in the middle that rotates around. By the way, even though the new flanks are there, it still makes it a bit risky to approach, especially this one on the left. But that's fine. It makes it a high risk, high reward type of area. But the zone's basically the same from, you know, vanilla. And yeah, let's go on to the next one. We got Tower Control next, which again, kind of the same layout. You know, it still has the cars and whatnot. It still has this giant crane in the middle. There's a grate right here now too, so you can get across. The crane might get in the way, but that's fine. You can just get it away out of it slightly, and then that's the last time it'll ever be out of the way. The tower pathing is basically the same. There's a second check here. There's the final check, and then here's the goal. Yeah, but that's like the only clip. It just clips through, basically. Yeah, it's funny. I think it's fine, if you ask me. And then we got Mincemeat on a Rainmaker. I did the crane arms on the map so it doesn't block the view as much. It still shows where beacons and players are, if that's what you're concerned about. Yeah, we could probably alter it. So the third one is Rainmaker, which, by the way, yes, you can literally flank. You can grab this and jump over to the other side if you really wanted to. This left flank right here gets a bit of a downgrade, but that's fine. If you or a teammate has platforms, you can just use one and get across like that. And then there's the right flank too. Is basically just the same, I believe. But yeah, that's kind of just Rainmaker on this map. I don't think this block was here before though. I think that's new. And last but not least, we got Clan Blitz. Clan Blitz is basically the same, but there's more flanks. So there's a left flank right here, which is still from base game, but you can now go up here as an example, get enough clamps. You can go up here, and then you guys can't believe it. I can't believe it, guys. There's actual flank options. I can go here to the left, where it's a bit more risky, but it's more rewarding. We can go through, push through mid, jump off through this ramp, or hell, you can even just make your own flanks at that point. Just make your own flanks at this point, dude. That's kind of the point of this platform. And then you can still push up to the right here if you really wanted to. And yeah, that's Mincemeat. We're gonna be, I think Mahi's up next. Yeah, actual routes, something that the Splatoon devs are allergic to. But anyways, this is Mahi. Mahi is not full on Splatoon 1 Mahi, but it is quite bigger than it ever was before. There's extra islands up here, and a little bit of grates right here where you can come down and flank to if you really want to. But placing blocks and shakers, I mean fucking Minecraft. But there's extra islands here where these islands did not exist before. And then the stage, of course, gets even bigger when the water levels get lower, and those are the grates I mentioned of, and we'll just kind of wait here. Anyways, water levels dropping, yippee! There's a couple extra flanks here too. As I keep mentioning, the grates right here are like, and then there's even this flank right here now, which I've also teased a couple times online, where you can go up here, and that's Mahi. on turf. But Splatoon is basically the same, but except with, you know, a couple new things like the extra blocks here or like just other stuff. It's basically the same as the turf layout. Rainmaker is up next. Rainmaker gets a bit of a rework too, as do all the stages. The Rainmaker here, there's 2 checks. You can go up here to this left one, do a flip, and then you can push up to this goal right here. The layout is also pretty drastically different as well. Can the entire stage spinning be the gimmick of score? It should be so awesome. Honestly, maybe. That sounds funny as fuck. Buff dualies on this map by removing some of the water. Yeah. And then there's right flank as well. And then there's the goal itself. Then Clan Blitz is the final map mode for Mahi. And then Clan Blitz is actually probably got the biggest change out of all 4 modes for all map layouts. So as you can tell, so instead of being here on the left, I believe where it was left time, or like somewhere around right here, it's now all the way on the left, and you have to push left, which is more open, making you more vulnerable to being shot. And again, the maps lower even more when you score enough. Lower down. Lower down. Zip, that is right. Well, I'm sorry for being a little bit silly. I had a little bit of silly juice earlier. Not really, I'm just really fucking stupid. But yeah, no. Mahi Clams is actually playable now. I can't believe it either. And then even more flanks create from the right side. And along with the left too. How to tell the difference between... Yeah, it's a universal thing. Yeah, my bad, dog. But as you can tell, it just gets drastically changed. Ah, yes, I've skipped over Museum. Museum's probably my favorite rework out of all the stages we did. So, Museum resembles a bit of Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 3, but we included all the pros from both into one stage. So, first off, the spinners, there's actually a spinner in spawn now. There's also these spinners actually touch with each other now, and they're much bigger too in this variant. There's this block right here, which I don't think that was in before. We get up here. There's also this little drop now too, which by the way, you can get up here from mid to go up here to rotate back up here as a flank. Just like Splatoon 1. Untalking this stage will be harder, which is fun. Not really. It's actually easier, I think. And then, as well as, you can also squid surge up here to get a... if I can actually get into fucking ink. And then you get squid surge up here, and then jump across here. And then, of course, the spinners will actually touch. Yes, platform weapons can go up there. Platform is literally placing blocks and shit because you're in Minecraft. Quite figuratively. And literally. And look, now you're on top of the spinner. And of course, we're not done with reworking all the stages as well, but I'm really happy how this is map turned out to be. And it gets even more funkier. Blood Zones is basically the same. Well, kind of. Mid's different, actually. Mid is different. The mid is actually different. Where this spinner is actually quite taller, and there's this left flank now. Or, not left flank, what do I say? There's this flank right here. Yeah, Leader and Swiffer both have it. But no, the zone's basically the same. Same size compared to vanilla Splatoon 3. Again, there's this left flank right here, which you can just jump up to. Failing to jump as usual. On my bad, I'm doing multiple things. I can't multitask. Tower Control is next, which is also has a really interesting rework. Platform path on the left. I'm slow, okay? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Evie. So, this is Tower Control. The tower pathing is a bit different, actually. They saw the kits and dipped. Well, oh, this is... Oh, that's a bug. Oh, this is a bad bug right here. That is not intentional. That's supposed to be paintable. Oops. But you can also use platform to get up here as well. Is, I believe, what Evie is talking about.
But anyways, tower pathing is basically the same. Of course, just with the new updated layouts. The kits are the fun part. Yeah, I know, but that's why to show off balance first. Every weapon in the game didn't get Zuka Vizzies. Sorry, why they suck. Yeah, this part is not intentional. That part is supposed to be inkable. So oops. Visual bug, I think. That's just a bug, we'll fix it later. But that's why we haven't released the mod pack yet, because there are some bugs, as you just saw. Oops. But basically, tower pathing is basically the same. But the most interesting out of all 4 layouts for Museum, Remake is probably the most interesting mode out of all the map modes for fucking, what was it? For Museum. Because the checks are now on top of the spinners, meaning that you can't just instantly cheese it anymore. And getting the goal is really interesting too. But look, you can actually, this time you can actually flank around from the left, mid, or right to get up here, which I think is really nice. So once you're up here, there's 3 different ways. Yeah, only one shooter at Zuka. Good. That's intentional. So anyways, you can go up here or go below, and then you can take a right, mid, or left flank instead. For this demonstration, I'm going to go through the mid flank. You can actually just get up here, like this. But basically, Rainmaker's become a lot more interesting map on Museum. Last but not least is Clam Blitz for Museum. So Clams is basically the same as basically the Turf War layout, but except, you know, that one other block that was here from the Turf War layout / Splatoon's layout is not there. There is a block here instead of a ramp. No, there's less than 15 Zuka. Yeah, 3 spot lanes, which I find hilarious. I think... No, I thought there was 2. No, there's 3. There's 3, I think. I'm not... Okay, now I'm confused on how many they are. I'll have to check after showing off the stages and everything else. But basically, that's... Basically, yeah, that's Museum for you. For the 4th stage, we'll go over Flounder. Did Bluefin get any changes? Not yet. We plan to. But basically, we basically made Flounder a way wider stage than it was already. So, for starters, there is now a right flank. Just completely. That's just entirely new. Well, technically not new. It was in Splatoon 1. But there's a right flank where you can go up to. There's some grates right here. You can squid surge or simply just tap B to get up here. And bam, you're already on the right, you're already on their side. There's also extra blocks here to get around, just like Splatoon 1. It resembles Splatoon 1, but we made the stage relatively wider in every little aspect of the map in general. There's a tree down here. And again, you can just go across here. And that's basically Flounder. Flounder's a more simpler rework. We basically made the map entirely just wider. Next up is Flounder on Zones. Zones is basically the same as the Turf War layout. I'm gonna say that for every map, every map mode. But basically, Zones are, you know, the same from Splatoon 1. Or Splatoon 1, Splatoon 3, from vanilla Splatoon 3. But basically, this is Flounder Tower. Here's second check. There's third check, and fourth check is actually extended, or between third and goal, or third check and goal, is that it's actually a bit wider. But basically, that's Flounder on Tower. Anyways, Flounder on Clam Blitz is next, which again also got some changes. So Flounder has Clam Blitz, or Flounder and Clam Blitz. By the way, you can. Clam's goal has been pushed back a bit, so you can't just cheese it anymore from jumping down. You actually have to be closer than you were before. Let's talk about an entirely new map, or should I say, returning. Welcome back, Reef. We brought back the motherfucking Reef, and also we did include inkjets on dualies. You drones, we did. It was literally shown, but anyways, we brought back the Reef entirely, just entirely.
The reef is a pretty big stage, all things considered. And this was basically ported in Splatoon from Splatoon 2 to 3, but with some visual updates. So the reef's back entirely from Splatoon in Splatoon, which, by the way, we did replace 2 stages. Even though we could add more stages, we thought it'd be best to replace 2 stages. And one of the stages we replaced was Wahoo World, because they brought back the wrong fucking Splatoon 2 stage. I don't like Wahoo World, you probably don't. I'm sorry if you do, but Wahoo World's really just hard to just rework entirely to make a good stage, and I don't think anyone likes it. But let's go over with Splatoon's next. For those who've not been introduced with the reef, which I'll go in a deeper dive on this because Turf 4 and Splatoon's layouts are basically the same. So, spawn is pretty big. Where my circle is, the cursor is, that's basically your spawn. The reef, you can drop down from the left, or from the mid, left, or right. So if we go down here, you can drop down from here and you can go up either on this snipe right here and shoot from here. You could also shoot from this corner or drop down from this corner too for more aggressive flanks. If we go to the left, if you go from the left here, you can also drop, this is a more simpler path where you can drop down straight from mid, or you can still hard cover from left here, and if any other smelly flankers, like a dual scrap gun or like a Tetras as an example, and you're like some other weapon that could outrange it, you can check up here and make sure they're not flanking, or you can push down to mid. For the zones variant, it has 2 zones, and then there's the bridge up here. Here's underneath the bridge, and then the zones are capped. I think it's like one of the only good few double zones layouts too, by the way. There's also up here where you can come around up here. And yeah, that's basically the reef on zones and the general layouts, so you get an understanding of the reef for what it is. So it's a big map with a lot of workarounds too. So here's tower control. I think tower control is the same from Splatoon 2, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, so someone fact check this on me, or someone fact check this for me. So anyways, here's the tower pathing. We go to checkpoint 1, there's checkpoint 2, there's 3, and then the goal is up all the way where I'm shooting my projectile at. You can rotate here, or you can jump off from here and flank up here if any frontliners that love the splat go up there if they really want to, and especially if they have splat form. Especially if they want to have splat form. So here's check 2, here's check 3, and then there's check 4. Alright, we'll go over Rainmaker next, then Clam Blitz. And then we'll go on with the final stage. Alright, here is Rainmaker. So Rainmaker has 2 checks, which in Splatoon 1, it did not have any check system. So normally you go up here and flank up here if you wanted to, but this is a more riskier path to take. Up here, this is the quicker route, but it is way more risky because you're more likely to get shot down from here versus if you take the left flank. But if you killed everyone off, that is a free check right there on the right. But if you go to the left instead, which is safer by the way, it is slower, but it is safer. So I imagine people are going to be taking more of the left flank here instead. But the left flank is also more rewarding to get to the goal itself. So you kind of have to think like, what do you prioritize first? The flank on the left or the flank on the right? Which by the way, I don't know why it says don't retreat. I'm pretty sure that's a bug as well. And then from here, you can go up, and then from here, you have 2 options. You can either jump for the check to go up here, or you could just simply go to the right. I think the left check would be more optimal, but again, it's more riskier. Undertow Rainmaker, yeah, it literally is, but it's better because of the reef. It kind of is just Undertow Rainmaker, which is good. Undertow Rainmaker is a good map mode. And then last but not least, Clam Blitz. Clam Blitz, again, is also just the same from Splatoon 2, I believe. Again, fact check me on this. Clams are scattered all over the map, especially around the middle part.
around here, around mid and left and right. I don't know why all these clowns are up here together like this. This is basically the same as Splatoon 2's check in this. But yeah, basically that's it. Also, can you flank up here? Yeah, you can flank up from the left, by the way, from here to score from here as well. Scoring has a lot of flanks here, but again, you kind of need to like go against up everyone. This is Splatoon 2 Reef on clams. Speaking of which, let's go over with the final stage. This stage replaces Brainwater Springs with Urchin Underpass. Welcome home. That's right. Not only do we bring back the Reef, not only do we bring back Urchin Underpass, but we also just completely replaced 2 of the worst stages in Splatoon history. Yeah, no, the shade's a little bit off, but basically we did bring back, or the lighting's a little bit buggy here, but again, I'm sure we can fix that. But we did bring back Urchin Underpass. Urchin Underpass is a small stage, but with a lot more flanks. I'll showcase the Turf War variant, and again, for like all other modes, the Slot Zones variant is pretty much the same as the Turf War variant, unless if I say otherwise. Was kind of hoping for Sheldendorf, but Urchins is cool too. Sheldendorf's alright, honestly. I don't like the glass gimmick. You can drop down from here, and of course there's this left flank. You can jump around here too. You can actually go up from here or push on through mid. It's a small stage, but it is a very, very flanky stage. Where this stage has several flanks on it. And then of course you can flank from the left side too, as I mentioned earlier. And then you can drop down from either here, or you can drop down from the right, or not from the right, but even then. Yeah, this is a very short range favored stage in Splatoon 3. Again, Splat Zones is basically the same as they were from the Turf War layout, except we'll show up the zone, of course. So as we see here, let's go flank through mid this time since we've not done that yet. It is a single zone. It's kind of a small zone, all things considered. One thing I would like to personally add to this stage though is to make the zone a bit wider. We replaced 2 mid-ass stages that I don't think anyone would miss. But this is what it looks like. And of course we can add stages without replacing them. We just simply chose to not replace them. Here is the tower control layout. But basically this is the tower path. For the second check, you can flick up here or just simply chill up there if you needed to. Again, this is pretty much ported. I'm pretty sure the layout's ported from Splatoon 1, but with the addition of checks. Starfish main stage when? Possibly soon. I'm not guaranteeing it, but it could happen. And then there's the goal. We'll go over Rainmaker and then Clan Blitz next, and then we'll talk about some general other things, like cosmetics, or and just like other stuff. So Rainmaker actually has a bit of a different layout here. There's only one check, I believe. Yeah, there is. You can climb up this wall if you wanted to. The Rainmaker here is on the ground, and there's multiple ways you can approach from this. So you can just charge right head on. You can charge between right here as well, mix up your movements. Or you can take the long way from right here and then flank around from there. I think people are going to try to charge right in, but for the second check, I feel like you can mix it up even more. You can get up on top of this wall, I believe, or something like that. Let me try. Or if you can somehow, you're not being stupid like me, then you probably can. You can go up here, and then you can make up to this right check this goal right here. Or you can simply just place down platforms and make it up that way. And then last but not least, let's go over with an entirely new layout that's not had a new layout. Clan Blitz on Urchin Underpass. So I think this is going to be a really flanky map overall. It's small, but has a shit ton of flanks. Like a hamster maze or something. Unlike every other mode, this actually has a paintable wall up here, so you get up through glass to flank up here to score, which I think is really nice. Out of all the map modes, this is definitely the most flankiest for Urchin.
And then there's extra blocks up here to flank around too. You can actually score from the top of this wall, score from down here, score from the glass part. There's a lot of ways you can enter in to score in Clan Blitz, which I am fond of. Yeah, this is an anti-backline map, if you can't tell already. The midline and shorter range weapons are gonna have a fun time here. And let's not forget about the cosmetics too. There's a couple of cosmetics, and we plan to add even more shit into the future, by the way, including more reworks, more stages, more music and whatnot, all that other shit. So for now, there's not a lot of cosmetics, by the way, so do bear this in mind. I added my infamous mask, which is on my OC, into there. There's also a hooded variant as well. We added a hoodie, the same hoodie that I'm wearing, and then along with a zipped up variant. We're gonna add more weapons. Yeah, we're gonna include more weapons in the future. Chat, let's check out the new weapon. And also, no, we're not doing no fourth kits. No. Introducing literally nothing. You get the for wasting one Sheldon license. You get to run absolutely nothing. Let's test it. With a whopping, by the way, ignore the Splat Bomb of Trizuka. You literally cannot use it. Yeah, we just added no weapon. If you want to go into the battle, if you want to go into the game with no weapon, oh, by the way, ignore the junior that's floating on the ground. I don't know why it's there. Just ignore it for now. You can literally go in with no weapon if you really wanted to. So I'm really excited for the no weapon mains out there. So people ask him like, hey, what's your main? You pull up this shit in the battle. Pull this shit in the game. Yeah, you dropped your junior, by the way. We also changed over here in the ouch animations. But yeah, no. Also, I'm holding ZR right now, and I literally can't shoot. Same thing with my right bumper. Yeah, no, the idea for this is just it's a joke. If you can't tell, this is literally just a joke. But here's instead of being ouch, it goes to out, and I believe like the help me for summon runs also different. We also added new banners into the game as well. We're gonna add more banners in the future, including some cameos from other people you might know, like Mr. MVP, NY MVP, or Ethan Stone. My own banner as well, along with some Pride banners too. There's a Keon reference. Say hi. We got some more Pride banners. We got a banner based off Vinyl Dualies. Some other banners. Look, MJ. Hi, MJ. We got Ezia. We got an Adrian theme banner for those who know him. More Pride banners. John Splatoon asked for a banner himself. We got a friend who asked for a banner, which, by the way, they helped with adding third kids into making third kids work. I don't think I have. By the way, I did include some other banners too, but I don't think I have them unlocked for some reason, so that's on me. Oops. And then, oh right, how could I also forget more titles? Now let's go over the titles real quick too. There's some titles. There no new badges, by the way, but there are new titles, like this fan favorite title, using my favorite title, and there's titles too with this, titles based off Smash characters too, like, let's see here, Bayonetta and Banjo-Kazooie. Let's see here. I don't think I have all the titles, by the way, so just so you're aware, so you're not going to be able to see all of them, but we added quite literally over 100 new titles across both both adjectives and subjects. And also we did add pride titles like bisexual. You could be a bisexual big bubbler user as an example, but there's a lot of new titles as well for both like good titles and just like sarcastic titles. You know, just kind of like show off yourself. We are adding new music. They're not implemented in the game yet. Yet, I say the keyword. Some songs already done. And now let's go over some general announcements. So, I would like to announce that the game, not only are we making a dedicated server for ZipToon, so you can play with other people and matchmake, we also have our very own ranked system too, which you can look into that more. Or if you just simply want to hang out there and chat in general, even play vanilla Splatoon 3, 2, or even 1, you can as well. Again, we've made a matchmaking ZipToon server, which, by the way, joining the server will give you early access to the mod before it's publicly available. So I'll link that server right now. Actually, there is a verification system, by the way. But yeah, there's that as well. And not only that, but for those who still want to like play the game vanilla, you know, we also made a Wi-Fi safe edition for the mod pack, which only changes visual and audio things only. This does not include. This includes like the cosmetic gear, the new titles, the banners, all that other shit. It also includes the reskins for 12 second kit weapons as well, along with some other things. But again, does not include any gameplay changes whatsoever. And then the game banana page will be officially up later today. Oh, and I also forgot to mention, this mod pack will be open sourced. So if people want to use our mod pack to make their own mod packs, they certainly can. The only thing that we ask is to credit us, the cast and crew, for using our mod pack as a base for them. Because we pretty much did all the hard work for them. We included third kits for all weapons. We just did pretty much everything into one massive mod pack. Thank you for those who tuned in. It really does mean a lot that for those who did tune in and actually watch through this entire stream. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream and the presentation that we had. Thank you for those who tuned in, and yeah, that's it. Thank you for those who tune in, and I will see you all next time. Stay foolish.